for Communications and the Arts, Senator Fifield. Can the minister outline why the Turnbull government's media reform package is so important in a transitioning economy?
The Minister for Communications and the Arts, Senator Fifield.
Thanks, Mr President. I think, as all colleagues know, the media laws that we currently have, which date back to 1987, have not been significantly changed since that time. The media landscape, in contrast, has changed dramatically. So both technology and consumer choice, bit by bit, have been rendering the existing media laws redundant, which is why the government is proposing to remove what's known as the 75% reach rule and also the 2 out of 3 rule. If we get rid of these media rules, Mr President, it will allow Australian media organisations to configure themselves in ways that best suit them, but also put them in a good position to remain viable and to serve consumers. So this is important because it's part of the government managing an economy in transition. Now, the economy, communications can be of assistance to people as they manage the transitioning economy, but the media sector itself is also in transition. So it's entirely appropriate that we make sure that our media laws are fit for purpose, that they reflect the world that we currently live in. Mr President, it's very much my hope that my colleagues across the chamber will recognise that the time has come to remove these 2 outdated media laws. They might have made sense in 1987 when Kylie Minogue was still a resident in Ramsay Street and she was still singing The Locomotion. It was the year that I was finishing university. So 1987 mightn't seem long ago, but it is indeed a long time ago. It's time our media laws changed.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Smith, supplementary question.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Will the minister advise the Senate why it's critical that the 2 out of 3 rule be abolished?
Minister.
Thanks, Mr President. Well, one of the reasons it's important to abolish the 2 out of 3 rule is because the 2 out of 3 rule doesn't recognise that the internet exists. The 2 out of 3 rule is predicated on there being only 3 media platforms: commercial radio, print, and TV. It would be self-evident, I think, Mr President, that that's not actually the world that we live in today, and we don't want to see our own Australian media organisations shackled by rules that don't apply to Netflix or Google or Facebook or Apple. There is no justification for the 2 out of 3 rule. Even without the 2 out of 3 rule, there will be adequate rules still in place to ensure diversity. There will still be ACCC requirements. I don't think lack of diversity in media is something that we need to have a fear of.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Smith, final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Is the minister aware of any opposition to the removal of the 2 out of 3 rule?
Minister.
Thanks, Mr.
Order on my left.
Thanks, Mr President. I and I don't think my colleagues on this side of the chamber actually believe in media bogeymen. There's a fear, I think, a fear I have that there may still be some in this place who might. We are essentially ownership agnostic on this side of the chamber. I know there are some on the other side who have what you might call an emotional response to proposed changes in media law. But let me quote Jason Clare, counterpart from the other place, who says, "If you make decisions based on one media company or another, then you're not doing your job properly." And I think to Mr Clare. He sees things very clearly and very crisply. It's important, I think, that when looking at these sorts of issues, we don't jump at media bogeymen, we don't decide emotionally, we look at the facts and try and determine good policy.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Lazarus.